in the street throughout the whole process. Yesterday it sounded like you sort of prepared yourself for today's decision. Just your reaction.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that because I was off tone with my people. I'm going to slide to the side and let our legal people, and then we'll take questions all at once.
What's your name? My name is Charlie DeMond.
Thank you, Chuck. Thank you. Right here.
Please reintroduce yourself.
Good afternoon, members of the media, city and residents of Kenosha and of Wisconsin. I'm attorney Biari Lamar, representing the Jacob Blake family, along with my co-counsels who are not here with me today, renowned attorney Ben Crump, and also Patrick Selvey, too. Today, the news that we have heard from the Kenosha the Kenosha District Attorney's Office is very disturbing. We are immensely disappointed with that decision. We believe that there was more than sufficient evidence to find probable cause to charge Officer Shesky. We believe that there were certain standard operating procedures that Officer Shesky should have followed that were not followed. There was no de-escalation. And we believe that the shooting an individual 7 times while walking away from the officer is nothing less than intentional. We believe that all the elements of attempted homicide were met, and that we believe that the city and the community is being deprived of their constitutional right to be able to be the trier of fact. And we're just immensely disappointed with that decision today. We believe that the district attorney's office somehow believes that as we roll into 2021, that all of a sudden the country is legally blind or something. We think that the 20-second video is very clear. We don't need a 2-hour explanation for what our eyes can see. So we're immensely disappointed with that. It takes 20 seconds to watch that video to find probable cause, and it took them over 4 months to find a reason to ignore it. We're not happy. We will exercise every remedy that is available. We think that it is very discouraging for all the protesters and all the individuals who gathered peacefully to urge change. And it just shows that we have a lot of work to do. We won't stop,
that's right.
And it doesn't stop here. And I think in 2021, it shows one very important thing, and that is that there's three justice systems in America. There's one for black and brown people, one for police officers, right, and one for the rest of America. And we won't stop until there is actually truly one nation under God with justice and liberty for us all. And we won't stop until we get there. At this time, we'll take a few questions.
He was the first right here. Hold on. Excuse me. Go ahead. This question is for you. You've obviously been vocal from day one. You've been in the streets, being a voice for your nephew. Your reaction to the decision?
Well, it's a gut-wrenching experience, bro. First off, you got to live and survive through getting a phone call we had to answer, right? So that's heart attack situation number one. Then you have to allow yourself to digest rocks and glass. It's what we received today. It's clear that, I don't know, I wasn't present, but the racism that we heard that was down south has come up here and stretched its legs into the government. And so now we have a systemic system that's ran top heavy up here, feeding bad things down to the people, in which police officers look at our community as terror bait. As they shoot our people, as they put their knees on our neck. This is bigger and greater than little Jake. It really is. This is about all the little Jakes. And that's why the people keep coming out and supporting us. You know why? Because it could have been them. I heard it from my class roommate. The other day he said, you know, it really gets to me. I said, man, you seem more upset than us sometimes. Why? He said, because I realized it could have been me.
Next question.
Next question.
Yes.
Hi, Jill from the Kenosha News. How did Jacob Blake himself learn of the decision, and what was his reaction?
Jacob did learn of the decision from a phone call with Mark Gravely. He did call about an hour before he went public and informed him of the city's decision. And I will say that Jacob is, he's very disappointed. I mean, how do you feel being paralyzed, shot in the back 7 times? Never had the mens rea of wanting to cause any harm to anyone. He just wanted to get away. you know, he wanted to bring himself to safety after what took place before the video.
De-escalate.
And that is what, you know, we will show as we continue to pursue justice for Jacob. But it's extremely disappointing to sit paralyzed, never walk again, and to be able to hear that the officer is not even going to get the opportunity to go before a jury of his peers. I mean, that is just a grave injustice.
What does Jacob think about all of the marching and the activism that's taken place today over the last 4 months and this decision today?
Could you say the first part?
I'm from ABC7 in Chicago.
Okay. How you doing, sis? Good to see you. Can you say the first part again?
What is Jacob's reaction to everything that's transpired over the last
Little Jake or Big Jake? Well, I mean, could you imagine being shot and paralyzed, trying to see about the safety of your kids? It was a tremendous day for him and an impactful day for him. And we just want him to focus on getting better. Well, as an uncle, when I go to visit him, we just watch football. Just want to leave us alone for a second and just concentrate on his well-being and himself. So we'll talk in a couple of days and find out how he really feels, but we want him to focus on getting well.
What happens now?
Go ahead.
Attorney Lamar, Aaron Maven with Fox 6 in Milwaukee. You
Yes.
mentioned remedies, next steps. Where do you all go from here? Where does this case go now?
Well, I will say that we will definitely, the legal counsel, myself, Attorney Ben Crump, Patrick Selvey, we will be looking at bringing a civil action in the near future to seek justice for Jacob. Today was about social justice. Today was about having criminal charges being brought, but we will definitely pursue other endeavors as it relates to civil justice.
Milwaukee, you specifically said that there is evidence before the shooting that shows that Mr. Blake was trying to get away. You've mentioned that evidence several times that you're going to bring forward. Can you speak specifically to what evidence you're talking about, or what specifically in that video you disagree with for the DA?
Well, what we're saying is that there was an altercation that the officers had prior to the video starting. You know, we maintain the belief that Jacob was essentially brutalized well before the video even started. What you saw in that video was Jacob getting up after being almost attacked by these officers well before the video starts. So I think that goes to his mens rea at the time, that he did not have the fortitude to harm anyone. And for an officer to say that he thought that he was going to get stabbed, where? Show me in the video, where did you feel like you were going to get stabbed? I think that this is just preposterous. And I think that the precedent that this sets is dangerous, not only to the city of Kenosha, not only to the state of Wisconsin, but to our country.
Correct.
If officers can justify shooting someone 7 times in this circumstance, we have a lot of work to do, and it is dangerous not only for black and brown people, but us all.
And to answer the question before, I'm sorry, I talked to Jake, my brother, not a minute ago, and he wanted us to emphasize that we'll be in D.C. Trying to sit down with the lawmakers that make a difference in every state, because this needs to be handled at a federal level. It needs to be investigated at federal level, and it needs to be taken to the feds so we can change some laws so our African descendants can live in peace.
Yes. Question here. The district attorney is just saying right now that Jacob had a knife and was reaching towards the officer when he was shot. Any response to that?
I think that, again, we don't need to hear a 2-hour explanation for what our eyes could see.
Right.
People across this country were not protesting and gathering peacefully, advocating for justice for something that, you know, requires a 2-hour justification. I think we all saw what happened, and I think the facts speak for themselves.
At what point?
Bob Cerrito, New York Times.
New York Times?
What's the prognosis?
I won't go into that right now. I will say that he remains in serious condition. I mean, he's still, you know, paralyzed. This is life altering. He has a long road ahead, and he will never ever be the Jacob Blake that he was once before.
A young lady behind you.
And not only that, but to say to ask the question again, sir.
How's his
I guess,
prognosis?
what is health prognosis?
Before that.
The district attorney was saying that he had a knife in
And
one.
our point was, when did he pull it out when he was running away from the man? At what point did he show a knife to attack this person and make him think that his life was in jeopardy? At what point in the video that you saw did we see that?
All right, young lady, and identify again.
Cassidy Williams from Fox 6, kind of similar reaction to what the DA
don't think that the allegations of a domestic situation even require a response. What is proven is that obviously what charges have been brought? None. He hasn't had any domestic charges that occurred on that date. So again, this is another attempt that we see not only in Kenosha, but across the country, is trying to justify the unjustifiable, as Attorney Ben Crump often says.
Correct.
This is just another instance of that.
Correct.
You know, they say, oh, if he would have just complied with the officer's orders, he wouldn't have been shot. That's preposterous to think that.
Come on.
Not following a law is called obstruction in the state of Wisconsin.
Yes.
That is not, it's a misdemeanor. It's 9 months in jail at the max and a fine up to $10,000. You don't get shot 7 times in the back for not following an order. So this logic that we have is dangerous, and we're here to address it today.
That's correct.
We're over here. Milwaukee Public Radio. On the civil action, are you thinking civil rights violation, or what can you tell us more about a legal argument?
We will talk further about any civil remedies that we will seek later, obviously with my co-counsel Ben Crump and Patrick Selvey. We will say that we've definitely investigated and it's in the works. I think that there's no question that there was a civil rights violation that happened back in August
Human rights.
of 2020.
And human rights.
Any other questions? We'll take a couple more before we hear from some community leaders and business owners.
Mr. Blake, Sean Gallagher, TMJ4.
How you doing?
What would you have liked to see an officer do in this situation?
I'm sorry. Who are you directing towards, sir?
Mr. Blake.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, but I just want to. You have to keep in mind that just like a fireman's trained to put out fires or a mechanic to put in a motor, these officers are trained. Please keep that in mind. They can't have the same mindset that a normal citizen has or can say. They're trained. You're trained for people that may do things that are unexpected. He could have been drugged down to the ground. There was multiple police officers there. Why would the first instinct of any officer be to draw a weapon next to 3 children, less than a foot from 3 children that he was supposed to be saving? He could have shot and hurt himself. That can't be the way they train him at the academy, is it? So he snatched the T-shirt of the young man and shot him 7 times in the back. What would he have liked to see? Them take him down if they thought there was something he needed to go in front of a court and adjudicate. That's the proper way that police should be policed.
Do you hope to see Officer Chesky lose his job?
We want to see him lose his job. We want to see him be indicted, and we want to see him have his day in court before he goes to jail.
All right, over here.
Justin, this question's for you again from Channel 12 News in Milwaukee.
Hey.
Are you guys is your family going to be protesting in the streets today or in the coming days?
Well, we've been working with the beautiful relationship that we have with LOC leaders of Kenosha, the Collective, and many other organizations. All of us are known in Kenosha and other organizations that have been tremendously good to the Blake family. And as we're encouraging the whole nation and the world to stand up and have a non-violent civil uprising, yeah, we'll be in the streets soon and we'll let y'all know about it.
Yes, right here.
Kate Chappell with NBC Chicago. When he was announcing that there would be no charges, within the same sentence he said there would also be no charges against Jacob. Curious if you had thoughts on that, him bringing that up.
I think that when we look at no charges for Jacob, why would he have charges? I mean, what did he do wrong? I mean, he walked away. You know, it's arguable whether there was obstruction or not, but I think that would be even more asinine to have charged someone after they've been shot 7 times. I think he's suffered enough punishment for more than enough individuals unjustly.
Any other questions?
Could you spell your name?
Yes, B''I''VORY, Lamar, L-A, capital M-A-R-R.
Thank you.
Yes.
We're going to have some of the leaders of Kenosha and some of the other organizations that have been standing strong with us, just to give you some of the insight of the community feedback.
You just introduced her. This is Tanya McLean from Leaders of Kenosha, and she's been instrumental with many different organizations, business owners, volunteers coming together, putting on nonviolent violence intentions, efforts, and initiatives. So take it away, Tanya.
So I've been reflecting on.
Speak up and take up.
So I've been reflecting on this decision. We kind of knew it would go this way based on what we've seen in previous cases throughout this country. And I've just kind of been looking to others who have gone through this struggle, Black and brown people throughout this country. And I was reading something that John Lewis wrote in one of his last speeches before he died, and it's just so fitting for today, so I'm going to share it. It says, "People on every continent have stood in our shoes. The truth does not change, and that is why answers worked out long ago will help find the solutions to the challenges of our time right now. Democracy is not a state. It is an act, and each generation must do its part to help build what we call the beloved community, a nation and world and society at peace with itself. We must also study and learn the lessons of history because humanity has been involved in soul-wrenching existential struggle for a very long time. And so the fight that John Lewis, Martin Luther King, who he was inspired by, and others have fought, we're standing here with the same exact story. How sad is that? So now the lynchings that we had in the South, the burnings and all that, people are, police officers and people that don't look like us are able to assault, murder, kill, harm Black and brown people. It's just unacceptable. I was listening to Gravely talk inside, and there were a few things that he said that just really, really, really upset me. He said that basically all of us that have been out here peacefully protesting, calling for change, and to back it up a little, before we hit the streets, many of us were out here in boardrooms, on committees, trying to fight for change. So for him to say, like, basically it's just starting because of what happened with Jacob, that's not true. But he basically said that we were calling for the firing, the indictment, and the prosecution of Shesky because we're trying to advance our cause. And what is our cause? We just want to be treated like each and every other person that doesn't look like us. We don't want to come outside and be harmed and have to worry about being murdered. I have 2 African-American sons and 3 grandsons. I don't want them driving. I have so much anxiety now about it. It's very stressful, and people don't understand. And like Justin said, where is the empathy? And then he said that Jacob and all of us, we're seeking healing through a jury trial. The last time I checked, how is that healing? When you have 12 people that you absolutely don't know that are going to decide your life, and more than likely will not look like you. And then he said that we have been trying this case on the screen. Thank God for the screen, because if the screen wasn't there, we wouldn't even be having this conversation right now, because we know how that goes. So for Gravely to say all these things about people who care about Black and brown issues in this community, to just sum it up as something as basic and asinine as this, I'm deeply, deeply offended. And Gravely is definitely entrenched in the systemic racism, and he is perpetuating it based on so many of the statements that he made earlier today. He talks about healing. How in the world can you do that when you feel this way about people who are trying to make change? Of course, we want to advance what we're trying to do out here and seek justice for Black and brown people. What is so wrong with that? Absolutely nothing. So again, we're going to stay committed to seeing things move forward in this community on our terms, on our demands. We're not asking anymore. And if you cannot, then you have to go. And Gravely, that this decision is just, it's disheartening. And it did no good for this community. The lack of transparency throughout the last 4 months is just unacceptable. And he will be held accountable at the polls the next go around he has. So thank you very much.
After Tanya,
top one more time, just your name and
Tanya, Tanya McLean, MC, capital Lean, and I'm the executive director of Leaders of Kenosha.
and we're gonna hear from Kenoshans business owner. Hey, Jillian, did you want to say anything?
Come on, this is a dear friend of ours since we've been up here, and as a business owner, she just wants you to let you know how she supported the Blake family.
Yep, I've been here since. Oh, sorry. I've been here since it happened. I am a black business owner in Kenosha. I also have 4 children. So, like he always says, it could have been one of mine. So I guess I'm just disappointed in the decision. It's not justice. Read justice, that's not justice. So that's all. I'm just disappointed in the decision that was made.
Hold on, Justin. Again, my name is Alvin Owens. I'm also a business owner. I grew up here. My family is here. We're part of the largest African-American family here. And it was very disappointing to hear what was taking place. What was more shocking that I didn't hear from many of my Caucasian counterparts that I grew up with throughout this entire 4 months. Some of them with their names on the buildings of their businesses that they own. I went to high school and middle school with, and I haven't heard from them throughout this entire time, maybe 1 or 2 likes on Facebook. So it goes to show what I've said earlier on when this first broke out in August, that on August 23rd, my birthday, was that we have 2 Kenoshas, the have and the have not, or the black and the white. And this further shows for us in the black and brown communities what it continues to be. So after Alvin Owens, ALVINOWENS.
You got some. Hold on 1 second.
And I was gonna get you for your brothers that's here.
That's what I'm getting ready to do.
That's what I was gonna do for you.
I love it to death. Teamwork all the time here. Just want to state a fact that sometimes gets washed and everything. Racine, Kenosha, and Milwaukee helped the Blake family as we rallied around support for little Jake turn a red state blue. And nobody can take that from us. We walked 38 miles to get the vote out from Kenosha to Milwaukee.
And the city.
Huh?
And the city.
And the city, only to show up and there's 500 some people in the park to receive us. Well, I say that to say before Ms. Tanya comes back up here to introduce Minister Khalifa, that African descendants showed us through the voting process we got power. I can't hear you. We got power. And what we're going to do with that power in 2021 is to get the proper people in the proper seats that have humanity for everybody in this county, city, and state. Ms. Tanya has something she wanted to say.
Real quick. You know, we have the National Guard here. We have our courthouse built that, boarded up. And what's so interesting is everyone is so concerned about, their properties and the fires and the burnings. Those are buildings. We in no way condone any of that, but what about the people? Jacob was shot 7 times in his back. And we do not believe that they were dispersed here to protect us. That is not the case. But I needed to say that. There's all this concern by the city and the officials about the dwellings. Those are exactly that. They're dwellings. They don't have a heartbeat. They're inanimate objects. But yet and still, that's all we hear about. Unless, if it's not coming from us out here demanding, we're only hearing about materialistic things that absolutely mean nothing at the end of the day. What about the black and brown people in this community and our lives and how we feel we're under threat constantly? So I just needed to say that so that people understand this is not about buildings. This is about people and how any one of us can be shot down in the street and there are no consequences for it.
There you go.
And here comes Minister Khalifa from Milwaukee. All of us are none.
Minister Khalif Muavel. All of us are none. All of us?
Or none.
All of us?
Or none.
All of us?
Or none.
We have tried everything. I think we've tried everything in this country around these issues. And one thing I know is that power only concedes to power. When the powers that be continues to be working forces against the people, what win do we really have if we have no allies on the other side? The fact of the matter is that we're going to have to start organizing in our own communities to put our own people in play. Because this right here is reflective across the country of the same narrative that we're going to continuously see over and over again. Every 28 hours, an officer guns down a so-called black or brown person unjustifiably, and no one is held accountable for it. Here's a brother who was gunned down 7 times viciously by police. And we're saying that that's all right. We've tried everything. We've tried everything, but I want you to understand that we're going to continue to fight. This is not over. We're going to continue to beat up these streets.
Yes, sir.
We're going to continue to organize across this state,
Yes, sir.
across this country.
Yes, sir.
We're going to go all the way to the Supreme Court.
Yes, sir.
We're going to change laws from the top down.
Yes, sir.
Because the local municipalities are afraid to challenge the federal government.
Yes, sir.
And that's what's really going on. It's a conflict of interest.
Yes, sir.
Laws are in play that say it's okay to play the way they're playing with us. And we need to interrupt those systems.
Yes, sir.
Because these various systems are going to continue to consume the lives of our people unjustifiably. And we got to come together as a collective, and it's only going to take unity. And that's the only way we're going to be able to make it to survive another day in this storm.
Yes, sir.
And I say this very earnestly, and I mean what I say when I say this. This is more than just a fight.
Yes, sir.
This is more than just a fight.
Yes, sir.
Because lives are being taken, families are being broken, communities are being severed and shattered to pieces. And we're still saying the same old Black Lives Matter song, and nobody's hearing us. But everybody march with us when it's time to march. But when it's time to stand up behind those doors to make these decisions, to come with these indictments, everybody's on the same side, and we locked out the door, and we're not at the table, and that's got to change.
Yes, sir.
All of us?
Or not.
All of us?
Or not.
All of us?
Or not.
We're going to wrap it up shortly. We're going to take a few more questions for the